Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique Peace. I am Janice. I am the Quiet Healer here on Long Island. I'm a Reiki Master teacher and medium. Today, I will be joined by Chris Lipani. He is a Reiki Master, and he also is a Blueprint Seraphim healer as well. And so we get to learn about that today. So, welcome, Chris. Good
Hey,
morning.
good morning. How's it going today?
It's going good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Nice and early. I like the early starts. This is good.
You're good. I'm an early bird myself. So, you got a couple of things in the healing world going on. You are a Reiki master, so a lot of people are familiar with Reiki. But blue seraphim.
It's Seraphim Blueprint.
Okay,
Seraphim
so
Blueprint.
see, I'm getting it wrong. My apologies. So explain that. What is that?
It's like Reiki. Just Reiki is like 2,000-year-old and energy channel. Seraphim Blueprint goes back like 16,000 years. It's coming from the Seraph angels, which are like God's first angels, like the protectors of Earth, the creators that helped them create Earth and stuff like that. So it's just an older energy stream, and there's a lot of different channels that you can pull from.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's different, but it's like it's all energy, it's all light. No matter who you are, what you are, you call in light, you call in light. It doesn't matter. It's just different channels, and I like it because, like, there's in Reiki, there's a bunch of channels that you call in, but it's more limited because things are more vast within it. This has more like specific things, like specific channels for different healings and whatever else. So it's pretty cool. So I mix both into sessions, though. I use Reiki as well.
Beautiful. Now, what led you to that modality?
It's been a long journey. My journey's a long one, but I mean, we all come into this field with reason. Normally, there's something there's a catalyst, and everyone has their own. I went through like a tough time for a long time. My wife was sick with cancer for like 52 months. When she was diagnosed, she was 32, and she passed away when she was 36. So like after that, I was like kind of lost, and like I kind of like lost faith in God. I lost a lot of things, And I was just like, you just like go through life, you're pushing. So I went on like the spiritual journey, and I started first going to like seminars, like just like jumping in classes. And there's this guy, Paul Saladino, who's like a great mentor to me.
I love Paul.
He's amazing, Paul. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing guy. He's so gifted, but he like held me straight and got me onto this path and like kind of just like let me run, And through that, I met a bunch of different people as time went on. And I first started taking Reiki, like Paul told me like a long time ago, you got to start Reiki soon. And I kept on hearing it nonstop. So, we all have a gift within us, and some people have it more vividly than others. So I just started to start chasing it and trying to see what my purpose was here, because everything changes. Like you have a beautiful life, like everything's great. You live in the American dream as you like always thought it. And then it's like kind of gone. So it's kind of just like finding a new purpose, like finding a new piece as unique piece as,
Yes.
But I was saying, peace comes from acceptance. You're not going to have peace. You could have moments of peace if you stand outside in the woods and you're at peace for a moment, but that's temporary. You're going to leave there and you're not going to be in that peace anymore. So like you need acceptance from no matter what you've been through in life. Like you have to find your acceptance first to be at your peace. So that's what we're all chasing, right? That's where we all want to be.
Yeah. And so that actually leads into the first question of what brings you peace?
I mean, I love doing my work, like spirituality and what I do for people and helping people like get through tough times. So like things I've been through weren't in vain. I promised myself I would never let my wife's death be in vain. Like I want to help. There's so many people that came into my life that helped us, like from all walks, like people that you would never expect, and like they're the ones that helped us stay on our path and like keep pushing and fighting. And some people like don't have that. Like some people like feel like they're so lost and they don't have like that person that connects to them. And I just like I love giving that to people and helping people see within them like the obstacles that's stopping them. So yeah, I do like energy sessions, but I do intuitive energy sessions. So I really go deep into them like emotionally. So I'm more class sentient than anything. So I work off of what I feel, and I've been through so much, and it helped me be able to help them.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where it all comes from for me. Is how I feel everything on people. I'm a radar.
You're a radar.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So that's how everything came about. Like from the start of that, I went through Reiki I did that for a year with Chris Lee, and through Paul, I met this girl Jackie Bertuglia, who's like she's an amazing medium. She's like a shaman. She does everything. And she suggested for me to go because I was just going through healings myself and like trying to clear myself up. So she just suggested Jenny Israel, who was my mentor through Seraphim Blueprint. And it was like a year and a half, 2 years. It was, because there's a lot of classes, there's a lot of attunements, there's like 7 levels, there's like 50 something attunements. So
oh wow, okay, that's way more than Reiki, where we're like used to
yeah, exactly.
4 and then
that you really use, So it was a long time, but I liked it though because it helped me. Like every time I got more attunements, I was working with them, and I just kept on flowing with it. But my whole feeling about it all though is like nobody needs Reiki, nobody needs anything. Like you just need a connection to self, but you need to clear yourself in order to like really feel like you can help others heal. We all have it; it's in us already.
It is.
These channels that we go to and these classes that we take are just opening it up.
Yeah.
But it's more opening up ourselves and our what is the word I'm looking for? Our like faith in it, like it's helping us like have faith in ourselves. Yeah, trust. Yeah.
And
but
that's hard sometimes.
Yeah,
when you go through stuff and when you get torn down and you have to rebuild. What are you build? It's why are you rebuilding and what are you rebuilding?
Mm-hmm.
So you took all that grief and you built something beautiful.
Yeah, and it's kind of a gift. I mean, it's not a gift that I went through all that, but like most of us, we start our spiritual like evolution within us. Like women, it's around 36, 37 years old. Guys, a little bit later. So like that's when you really start knowing who you are, knowing yourself. So I went through this hard time when I was able to see these beautiful things of like these people coming in and helping us, and like just made me see things so much differently. Like even through pain, you see things differently. So it definitely was. It came in a time when I was 38 when my wife passed, 37, 38 when my wife passed. So like it was right in that area when I was ready to take off like spiritually. Like I was already like coming towards that, but this kind of just perpetuated everything.
It propelled you for sure.
Yeah.
And, as painful as all of that was, and I don't discount that at all. I know people who, I lost an aunt to breast cancer. I lost my dad to brain cancer. So you never discount that pain. Did you find that going through that has brought you some peace?
Definitely. It was finding my acceptance through all that. Like that got me peace. Because you hold on to things like I could have done something different. I could have done this different. And I always had intuition and it was always strong. Like since I was a little kid, like I always had it. And there's like some things in the very beginning of it all, which was like, it was crazy because I didn't follow my intuition and I knew I should have. And I'm fighting my nurses. And after my daughter was born, like, well, she's not getting milk. My wife's boobs were in gorgeous milk. Like there was milk there. But my daughter started to lose weight a little bit after, and like then now she's not getting milk. And I try to pump, like, yeah, there's barely anything coming out. I'm like, but why? And like I'm an engineer, so I'm like, what's the impedance from happening? But I felt it in my stomach, like you wouldn't believe. So she was just being like, like patronizing, like, well, you're a first-time dad. We see this all the time. I'm like, I'm glad you see this all the time, but can you please tell me why? I'm like, you went to school and you know the big words. Like, tell me the big words. Like, I want to know why. And so I asked to see her supervisor, and the supervisor was being the same type of way with me, and I was getting frustrated. And my wife was like, Chris, I just had a C-section. I have to be here for 3 more days. Can you please just stop? So I did. I stopped. Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to stop. So 16 months later, we found out through finding a 2 centimeter lump she found that she had breast cancer. And it started off as ductal carcinoma in SUI. So it was already in the milk ducts when my daughter was born. So that's why she wasn't getting milk. It was clogged. So if they would have just listened,
you would have found it sooner.
Yeah, so that's really hard to swallow. Like I didn't push hard enough where I felt like I should have, and my wife kind of submits me because I was kind of getting upset, and that was really hard to move on from. Like just knowing that if I could have, we all have that moment in our life. I don't care where it is. We all have one, at least one. We have many of them,
We have many, but we have that one moment where we're like, I should have done it differently.
Yeah, for sure. So it was like a really profound moment. So it was finding my peace within myself that helped me gain acceptance into that. And like I know, like our time is here. We're on a calendar where we have a timestamp when we're coming and going. And they know that, our soul knows that, we don't know it. So us connecting to that kind of helps us alleviate all that stuff. Like, it was her time. It was. I know it was. There's no other reason. Like, what am I going to say? There's no other reason. She was called back, and that was it. But she left a huge mark in this world.
Right.
Yeah.
She we all have our purpose and plan.
Yeah.
Purpose and plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you bring peace to others? I know you've kind of touched on it, but can you kind of go into a little bit more detail on how you bring peace to others?
So I mean, I use all of our energy spots as we do when I'm working with people, but I feel within them where, and intuitively, I'll tell them as a mother and father about a father. There's something like deep. We all have something. So when we're coming into this world, as we know, we're children. We're only light and only light. That's it. Like we're flowing, and all the different things that come along is what's clogging us up. Like we all have these self-limiting beliefs that were imposed on us as a child, and like we had parents that were struggling just as much as we did as a first parent, and we all have flaws within parenting, and we're doing things on a whim, and like how it is. It's tough. So sometimes we don't learn the way we need to learn as a child, because like you're learning how someone else learned, because it's all lineage. Like we keep learning along the way, and it keeps coming down the path. So we come into this world instilled with that, and as we're getting older and older, those things are still there. They're hidden. There's that like a little inner child that's always going to be there, and like my inner child I talk to all the time. Like you have to stay on it. Like you can have peace for like a month, and you like feel great. Like you could attest to this, and like you're like I feel great. And also like boom, something knocks you off, and you're back to that spot, and it always goes back to that same spot. No matter if it's an insecurity, if it's whatever it is within you that you feel, it's always going to show its face again. So like you constantly have to self-nurture. And in that self-nurturing, this is like everything I talk about with my people too. Like you need to self-care and self-nurture always, because you have to address that first part. So I allow them to go back there, and we talk there, and we work there. And in that moment, if they really are there and they're really seeing what I'm trying to make them see, everything in their life they're going to see differently. So you're going through a whole timeline of every relationship, every moment, everything in your life. And in that moment, you need acceptance within yourself. Because if you're not, you're like, because you're seeing everything so much. It's normally the flaws. It's normally not the good things. And you see these things, and it's hurtful. Like it's hard to be there. It's like standing in sludge. Like you don't want to. And then we compress and compartmentalize so much of this stuff. But you want to bring it out, and you want to see it. Because once you see it, you could accept it and be like, it wasn't my fault, and talk to yourself. Like this is what I was taught and learned. So as we go through as like healers or people that are just spiritual, that are awakening towards things that in our life and like trying to clear ourselves, as we go through, like we're breaking that lineage cycle. Like I'm not going to allow the things that were my limitations become my daughter's limitations. Like it's not happening. Like I want that kid to keep.
Exactly. No, I do that with my son a lot. There's like, okay, I'm not in the sins of the father, the sins of the mother will not be put on the sins of the child. And like he has to there's a lot of splits. It's like, I know how I would do it. You're 16. How, think.
Absolutely.
Because I keep on telling him, I have to release you into the wild in 2 years. I need you to make some decisions on your own.
It's great. And, the worst part of the parent is as well. It's like letting the kid like make these mistakes, like making mistakes that you see that are coming, and you can warn them a little bit, but they're still going to make them. They need to learn. Like we learned, and it's all conditional behaviorism. Like we become a product of everything we've been through in our whole entire life, and then we're here. But that's the stuff that we learned through. But the stuff that I work with is the stuff that we didn't learn. Like it was just given to us. So that's the stuff that I help try to clear. Like if you can get to that point and like bring the timeline back and really address that, like I don't want it to be like a therapy session when you come in 30 times. Like I don't want it to be like the medical model that we have where everything is like that. I don't want it. Like I want you to be able to see yourself. And if you have to come back another time to help read out, like I'm there, like help clear you up and like let's refocus. But I don't want that model going. I want people to be able to like see themselves. And like it took me 7 years to get to the point that I'm at now. And there was a lot of work and a lot of stuff. And like, I'm just trying to condense everything down to like this little ball where I could just like give it to you and like, here you go, and help you move on in your life, Right. So everything was propelled from, just pushing myself to be a better person. And I didn't want my wife's stuff to be in vain. That's why we're here. Like, that's why, I might have found this road eventually, but it's definitely sped it up for me.
Right.
That's what I work on with people. Yeah, definitely. So that's what I like to do when I work with people. Like I'll do like standard Reiki, but then we have a talk. And like some people don't want to have the talk, and you gauge people. Like if I start to go into something, I see they're not ready for it, I just leave it alone. And I'm like, why don't you just, then I'll work on more about self-caring and clearing your energy more. Just so anything will help at that point, But we all need to be at that point when we're ready, But we'll find it eventually. Well, hopefully, always eventually,
Well, ongoing journey. I mean, we
Yeah,
all have
sure.
bad days, even with what we do. I
Yeah,
mean, we're not always high, or not always, sometimes we don't feel love and light. Sometimes we feel like, I need to go sit in a chair and binge watch something pleases me.
yeah. Oh, for sure. It's a complete balance. Like, but I allow myself to be in that moment for 2 days, no more than 2 days. 2 days, you want to get stuck? All right, now let's get yourself out of this. Like, pity party's over. You don't got time for this stuff. Like, let's keep moving.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Life is nuts.
Yeah, yeah. And on your journey and everything, how did you, I want to phrase this, like, because you had to be in the hospital a lot. You had to help your wife with the chemo and the radiation, and I don't want to bring that up in a bad way. On your journey, was she encouraging on your journey? Did you have a lot of
Well, I wasn't starting to go in towards this journey towards the end, like mostly after she passes when I really, because I didn't have a lot of time. Like, my wife is a trooper. Like, she pushed. Like, she was at work 2 months after my mastectomy. Like, she just wanted to keep going, but when the cancer came back, it got tough. So then I was working overnights, and she was going through treatment often. Like, it was like almost every day. She was like always doctor's appointments. So I'd work overnights, come home, get my daughter to preschool, come home, take her, to where she had to go pick up my daughter. I was like nonstop. Like, I slept like 3-4 hours a night. Like, it was insane, and I did that for years. So like, there wasn't enough time in the day. So like, I just pushed because we have to, and I would have done it for 40 more years if I had it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, so yeah, I didn't start this journey until more after everything happened. It was like a low in my life, like when I was just like, I need to find purpose.
Yeah.
And I asked for purpose, and I asked if, you pray and you ask and you ask. And one time I prayed before in my sessions with my friend Jack, and she's like, so Archangel Michael's here, and he's laughing. He's saying you want to know your soul's purpose. I'm like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
No, she's not.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was like older wording the way he used it, but it was pretty much like that. I help illuminate the light in people's paths. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. Help them see the path in front of them. So it's pretty interesting.
And what has been the biggest joy through all of this? I know your daughter, but what else can you consider the biggest joy that you've learned through all of this?
I mean, the resiliency within self, and finding that resiliency through self. That's like the hardest part. Like, getting through all this stuff and like wanting to stand up again. Yeah, a huge cutout. So was my daughter, making me get up every day and this and that, and seeing her joy, and seeing like, just knowing that our life it's not as full as it was, but it's still full. Like, it was a few months after my wife passed away, I took my daughter to Disney World. I'm like, her birthday was in November. My wife passed away June 18th. My daughter's birthday was June 17th. So it was like a week before her birthday. And I'm like, Grace, we got to start your party. So this is just all like just give you a view of like how this life has lived. And this is what I'm telling you is when it started to be like, all right, we're not going to stop. So I'm like, Grace, what do you mean? Like, she's like, well, Dad, we're going to Disney World. I'm like, what do you mean? So my wife was alive. Like, she said for her birthday, like, we had all family and friends that were going to go to Disney World with us. And like, this was planned. We were talking about it for like 2 years, not 2 years, but for a full year. So it was like a week before, and she's like, what do you mean we're going to Disney World? I'm like, Grace, what are you talking about? And I'm talking to a little girl that's 5, about to turn 6 years old. She's like, Mommy, promise we're going to go to Disney World. And she's going, we have to go for Mommy. We have to go for Mommy. And I was telling you earlier, my daughter's very connected. She's like an old soul. So like, what the hell? I'm like, and like, there's so much going on in my life. I'm like, I can't even think straight. I'm like, I got to take this kid to Disney World. So like, literally we got up, and I literally booked like 6 days before we left, which is madness, because you got to people plan this stuff like 6 months.
Yeah.
We just went, and we had some great friends that helped us last minute try to like get things together that lived in Florida. Like, they were amazing. But like, we just went with it. Like, just dove into it, and like, I was like, we could do this. Like, at that point, I'm like, me and this kid can do this. That was like my eye-opening awakening of moving forward. And since then, we've been on like a lot of different, like, we have one of my best friends. He owns a house in Vermont, and like, I'm blessed to like be able to like share that with him all the time. Like, we go skiing together constantly, and we go hiking. So these little weekend trips and these getaways, it's like everything that came since was just like to show myself as well that life's never going to stop. Because you get in that moment, you're like, now what am I going to do? Life's over. Like, everything I did up to the point of like 18 years old to then was to get me to that point, and then it's gone. So it's hard. And then the spirituality within that as well. Like, the spirituality started to come after like the Disney trip. Like, that's when I was like, all right, I gotta find purpose, and that's kind of where it went. So that Disney trip was the whole catalyst for a lot of things in my life. Just knowing, and that was the hardest part. Is just keep moving.
Just keep moving.
Yeah, you want to get stuck somewhere because everything is not as is, but now you just have to just make it a little different. Like life's just about learning a little differently now.
Right. Now, I have to ask you, that Disney trip that kind of was the catalyst for you on your spiritual path. Do you feel that kind of kicked you out of survival mode? Because you were in survival mode that whole time.
Yeah, I was in straight survival mode then. Yeah, definitely. I was in straight survival mode. But then I was like, I mean, you're still always kind of in a survival mode, but it started to lessen a lot. Like we were living more. I wasn't surviving. We were living. So like we started at that point. We started to do a lot of things together. Like we never really stopped, me and my daughter, but we did like a lot of weekend trips, like going to different places, and like started doing things together that we enjoyed, like kayaking and all sorts of cool stuff. Like so, we just started like taking in God's energy. That's what it was. Like I was on the line, we were grounding ourselves constantly, no matter where we were. If we were in the woods, if we were in the water, no matter where we were. And like we found peace in it together. And like that's our thing. Like I could talk to my daughter. I'm like, Grace, pack a bag. We're going away for a weekend. And she'll be done packing in 15 minutes. I don't got to look at her stuff. She might forget a sock or something, but so that's just how we roll. Like we just get up and go. Like we're moment hoppers in that sense, because why not? Like why should we always have to like plan and do this? Like, no, last second, like, all right, want to go skiing? All right, we're leaving in 3 hours. Let's go. Like, let's just go, So we definitely have a different aspect of my wife is a planner. She was a teacher, very methodical. She had a syllabus for everything. Like Disney had like a 3-page syllabus. I was like, what is happening? Meanwhile, I get there and I'm like, have my daughter on my shoulders and we're just like running around like idiots, like trying to find stuff. Like it's so different. But yeah, so that was an awakening. It was like, I was a lot more out of survival mode. You still get there because it's like, oh my God, you get that feeling like I got to be the adult now. Like my wife is the adult. I was like the big kid, like, so I'm like, who's gonna like parent me? Like it's terrible. You kind of find your way.
You find your way. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You have to.
No, and I hate to say it, but it's true. My stepdad needed to be parented well until his 50s.
I mean, I'm never gonna stop. Like, I'm gonna keep. We all lose that little joy within us, that little like childlike thing. I like to laugh. Like that's all I like to do is laugh and enjoy life. Life is way too serious not to laugh all the time. If you get stuck in those moments, you'll be destroyed. Like you'll be living in a hole within yourself. I can't. I don't have time for that stuff. Got to keep moving.
Now, one fun thing you are, and we'll ask you how you are on the sidelines, and if you bring peace to the team, or if you're like kind of one of those crazy lacrosse dads who are like
we're very
coach.
So this is funny. I was a dance dad for like years. Like it was great because she loved it and the people around her were great. I thought it was terrible. Like I was spending weekends in the back of the auditorium like for years. Like it was terrible. And this year I finally had to talk about like really like just diving into different things and trying other things. And she's very, very athletic. She's like a freak. So I'm like, come on, Grace, it's time to go for sports. So she did basketball. She loved it. I was like a maniac in basketball because I know basketball. I don't really know lacrosse. I was always, I played football.
I don't either. I have to equate it to hockey.
Oh yeah, pretty much same sort of thing. So I'm learning as I go, I'm learning it. So like, I'm like quiet, but like I push, after I could see things, I work with her because I've coached teams. Like I coached football teams with other people. I coached basketball teams with other people in the past. I love to coach. So like, I'm trying to learn the game and like relying on other people. But so she played in like a PAL league. For 2 months she was playing and I'm like, Grace, you want to try for a travel team? She wanted to. So I'm like, all right, we'll find somewhere. So we found a newly formed travel team. She tried out and made it. And she's getting a higher level of coaching now, which is great. So like, I'm still trying to learn too. Like, I don't know those lines. There's so many lines on the field. I'm like, what is all this stuff? So I'm learning myself, but I'm very supportive of my daughter. Like I set benchmarks within herself. Like I want her to like hold herself accountable. Like, I tell her all the time, do you want to live an average life? And she's like, no. I'm like, so what do you got to do? We got to work. I'm like, all right, it's time to work. Like, she's like a straight A student. Like, she just comes with it, She's been studying every day. She does her homework every day right after school. I get home from work, she's already done. And we'll be watching TV and she gets up and leaves. I'm like, where are you going? She goes, oh, I got to study for a half hour. She studies for a half hour every night. It's just like we started these things when she was young and it's just perfect. It worked out well. So yeah, the lacrosse thing, I'm not too much of a crazy lacrosse dad. but my daughter's learning and I'm happy. So I'll get there. I'll be screaming soon.
And when she gets in the car, say she has a rough day and she has a rough game, and again, you guys are still learning, but just overall, she comes in, her energy may not be the highest. How do you bring her?
We get into it right away. Like we don't hold back. We get into it. Like, I mean, especially like since my wife passed away, like everything comes back to that because there's so much learning within that, between the both of us. But every time I felt, I feel, so every time I feel that she's upset, I'll approach her and like, Dad's having a really bad day. I'm really upset. I'm thinking about Mom a lot today. So like, I'll introduce these things. So since that moment, it opened up a window of communication with us, like emotionally, like if there's something bothering, I'll ask her and we'll talk about it. And I let her know that it's normal. You're allowed to feel this way. Like I'm never going to tell her feelings are wrong. Like feelings are neither right nor wrong. They just are. And you can never submit them. So like we talk about her feelings and we talk about why she's feeling that way. And I just give her some advice on like how to see things differently. Like I feel like in anything in life, like you have a perspective, right? So you're looking at a perspective towards your complete perception behind you of how you see everything. And sometimes that perspective is a little clouded and you can't find peace through it. Like you just gotta take 2 steps to the left. You can take 2 steps to the left. The sun's shining a little differently. Everything's a little bit different in that view that you're seeing things. And that's why I equate all my energy, everything is helping change your perception. And the only way to do that, if it's any problem in life, is just taking a step over and just looking at your perspective a tiny bit differently. I don't got to tell you how you have to feel. I don't got to tell you how you need to do things. Like let's take a step here and look at it this way. What do you see now? And that what I use in my spirituality is what I'm using with my daughter, and it works great because it's.
Oh, I lost you. What happened? Okay, we just lost Chris. Hopefully he'll come back in a second. One second. Interesting. So, as someone who has lost one of her parents, and knowing what Chris is going through from the other side of things, as the child, he's being a great supportive dad, and that is awesome. In bringing his daughter peace and connecting with her on multiple levels. And we've lost him for the moment, but hopefully he'll come back on in a few minutes or a few seconds, and we can continue discussing peace. But there's a lot to be said for the catalyst of the journey. The journey is always something starts and something new begins when we suffer great loss. And so, oh, here he is.
That was weird.
That is weird. Just you were mid-sentence. I don't even remember where you were mid-sentence.
Yeah, I don't remember either. We were talking about like how I deal with the problems with my daughter, like when she's having hard moments. I wanted to see and feel them all. Like that's what it comes down to. I want her to see her within herself, and I wanted to see a different angle for herself. As a parent, like we don't need to like tell a kid like this is how you're supposed to do this, blah blah. No, like let them see their own way because they're gonna see their own way anyway, and they're just gonna like start ignoring you and like blocking you out, and then you're gonna lose that communication channel.
Yes. And it kind of threw me off for a minute. I apologize. So, as a single parent, and I am one as well, different reason. I was raised by a single mom for many years, and everything is different. It's hard to subtract yourself and readjust yourself from survival mode. You've done a wonderful job of doing that. What in your toolbox can you offer to other single parents or just people trying to get out of survival mode when coming to peace?
So to find peace within, like we were talking about earlier, like you need to find acceptance. So there's something inside of you. If it was the situation you went through, you need acceptance in that, but sometimes it's hard to, because there's other things in your past, in your life, like that you've never addressed, that you kind of, like we were talking about before, put away. And you have to get into that moment. Like you have to get into that moment of looking back and like, why do I keep reacting? Why do I keep on pulling the same thing? And like the universe is constantly going to put in the same thing in your path. It's going to be a same place but a different face. No matter what it is, it's going to keep going.
Yes.
Learn.
Yes.
So you just got to keep moving forward. But when you see that and you keep getting it, it's like, why is this happening? And like you start to think like it. You should start to think internally instead of saying like being a victim. Like you'd either be a victim or you could be someone that's going to adjust and be like, what am I doing wrong? Why do I keep getting the same person, the same situation? Like what's happening? So it's like diving into self. And I mean, there's so many people out there that can help you. I mean, I've met a million people along the path, you know, there's so many different avenues, but honestly, it's like first start within self, like go inside and get in those places that you kind of dismissed, and like sit in for a little bit and like let yourself know it's okay. Like it's okay that happened to you, even if you had no control over it. It's okay that I chose to do this when I shouldn't have chose to do this. You know, you have to be in that moment. And once you find your acceptance, like
okay, this is weird again. Oh goodness, we are having connection issues, but self-acceptance is a big thing, and going and diving deep is a big thing, and it is something that is not easy, and that is something we need to remember, is it's not easy to look at those dark places that we hide in the shadows. So when we bring those to light and accept the good.
that's where we truly start to find.
You're breaking up a little bit.
There you are. You're back. Okay.
When we accept who we are.
All right, I'm back now.
Thank you. So when we accept who we are, the good, the bad, going back.
That's where we find our peace. Like you need acceptance in all things. Like I was saying, like I could smile a lot, but I'm you don't know what's behind that smile. Like you can hide in so much pain. Like you never know what someone is thinking or feeling. And same with self. Like we hide these things, but that pain is still there, and we're just gonna hide it and smile and pretend it's not there because it's ugly to be there sometimes. Mm-hmm. That's clearing all that and finding acceptance is where we truly line up our channel. You know, that's when we're able to have light coming in and out of us and feeling a lot better. And like, don't get me wrong, we're always going to be back there, but it's constantly going back and letting yourself know it's okay. Like I never thought I would self-talk myself in the mirror and talk. I do now, and I feel like I'm crazy, but it's great. Like I love it. You need to.
That's a Louise Hayes method. For
sure. Yeah, for sure.
And I've personally done EMDR, and that has helped quite a bit.
Is that the tapping? What is EMDR?
No, EMDR is, I forgot. It's like a time-space continuum. I forgot what it stands for, but you're thinking of the EFT tapping, and that does not work for me. I've tried that multiple ways with different people, just not a method for me.
Gotcha.
Where the EMDR has helped because it took me to places that I didn't even realize, and that going back and accepting the fact my mom was in survival mode, and for a very, very long time, I had a hard time coming to terms with what she was going through and forgiving her. I just knew that I wasn't going to be that person. Mm-hmm. Everything, it's like a lot of bad things happened because you were in survival mode and selfish. Mm-hmm. And then that EMDR, the EMDR helped me a lot. And like, okay, going back and forth. And yes, she made decisions based on what she felt she needed to do at the time. And while I may still have had issues with her, she'd done things differently. If she'd done things this way, I would be easier to digest them than the way she chose to do them. So again, looking and going through that perspective, it's not easy. And then taking a look and saying, okay, I did a lot of bad stuff when I was younger based on the things that happened to me, and, asking for that forgiveness from those people, but also taking into account that I have to at some point forgive the people who did bad things to me.
Yeah.
And move on. And I've done that pretty much in every circumstance but two, I'm not gonna lie. Those are very hard pills to swallow.
Yeah.
That's like, but I'm getting there.
I tell people constantly to find gratitude instead of resentment. Like we if it's with a person, a situation, a thing, no matter what it is, like there's a moment in that where you either love someone, love the situation, love the place, whatever it was, and now it's not here anymore. No matter what someone does, just hold gratitude for them, send them on their way, release them, and that's when resentment starts to dissipate a little bit. Because like it's hard. Like some things are really hard. Like because people come at you and they do things, and you're like, really? Like that's how like, but it doesn't matter. Like that's their path, and that was their blockage, and then that was within them that didn't allow them to go forward the way that they should have, like a human being at times, you know?
Right.
But yeah, it's hard. I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I can hold gratitude in the way certain things happened.
Yeah, of course.
And hold gratitude in that it taught me what not to do as a parent, as a human. But I'm still grappling, and this is the part that makes us all human, grappling with forgiving the action.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's like I can be grateful for what I learned, but it's letting go of that action. And for the most part, I have, because it keeps, like you said, it keeps coming up. It keeps showing up.
Yeah. It makes
same person, different body.
Yeah, exactly. And once you find full acceptance in that, that's when you truly let your soul free.
I mean, I recently had about a year ago a situation with a coworker who became a boss, and I was like, everybody else seemed to like this person but me, so I'm like going with my gut. Like, why don't I like you? What's wrong?
Yeah.
You haven't done anything. I don't even know you. And it goes to that gut instinct. And what turns out, once my direct supervisor left, and this person became my direct supervisor, like the Who says, meet the new boss, and meet the old boss in the universe. What are you gonna do this time? It's like, I ain't staying on. No, I think the lesson's been learned. It's time to go. So, and it's acknowledging that, like, okay, I've seen this person before. It's time to move on. And that's when you know you've come to that acceptance, like you said. You can move on with grace and gratitude.
Yeah, for sure. I got you again. Right? You kind of cut out a little bit, but I saw you. I heard you. I didn't see it, but it's fine. You know, it's true. It really is. It's finding that grace and gratitude within you. And a few other things like along the way of like with someone that's like starting the spirituality. I read a book that like really like hit home with me. It was called Way the Peaceful Warrior. And
I've heard of that book.
It was a great book. It was like metaphoric about your spiritual path. And everyone's on a spiritual path, and you read this book, and like as you're reading it, like you see things differently, you know. And it was a great book. And another book that really helped me out was The Four Agreements. I read that book, and then I went to a whole seminar. Paul Saldino had a seminar on the book as well, so we really like dove deeper into like everything, and that was like life changing. Like you create your own happiness, you create your own life, like you create your own dream. Like we're living a dream right now, and that was the Toltec Indians and how they thought, like how they live life. Like we're sleeping, we're living a dream, and you can change anything in that dream by following certain virtues. It works great. Like I try to stick within them, you know. It's pretty cool. So those are two things that helped along the way as well. It's just pretty crazy how things happen in your life. Everything's synchronistic, and there's so many things that came into my life like the second I needed them. And once you're on that path, and every time one of those synchronicities happen, just look up and thank God, and look up and thank them. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all. Keep them coming, and they just keep flowing. Once you recognize, they keep coming more and more and more. It's rather amazing.
It is. It is. And then when things aren't going your way, and you're like, what happened? You got to take a look and say, what happened? And you have to
yeah, and you're like yourself.
Well, you have to look at the one person that you don't want to look at. You don't want to.
Wait here again, guys.
Like,
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much everything, you know. That's how I kind of deal with things. Beautiful. It's been fun. It's a never-ending journey. Like, and every time you're at somewhere, like, oh, this is great. You just start seeing things a little deeper, and you start going into it more and more. It's pretty cool. I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, that's good. But some people aren't. They're on like the super duper looper 10 times.
Yeah, you just gotta shake your head and like, why am I here again? I didn't like this right the first time. Why am I back?
I was like, I need to get in a different line.
Take a step over. Change your perspective. You change your perspective, your whole perception will change. You're no longer a victim. It's no longer always happening to me. It's like, I'm going to perpetuate my own change. Once you do that, it's so empowering. You're opening up your solar plexus, and it's like that lioness is coming out of you. Your lion's coming out of you, and it's like, all right, I arrived, you know? You realize at that point that you're kind of in control of your life.
Very much.
For sure.
And sometimes it's hard to accept that. Some people are stuck in victimhood, and we all get there. But then it's a matter of, do we want to, again, take 2 steps to the left and get out of that, or are you okay with that? And that's just where everybody needs to find their.
That's their awakening. That's when the awakening comes. You need your own awakening. No, I could tell you something a million times until you're ready to hear something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So hopefully everyone gets there eventually, where they do want to move forward and do want to think a little differently and see things a little differently. You know, nobody wants to be stuck in that pain.
No.
Especially when it's a cycle. Yeah.
It can be a vicious cycle, and it's like when you step away and you're like, oh crap, okay, accountability, me.
It's so true. But we come into this world and thinking we could put our finger on so many things, but a lot of it's karmic too. There's karmic stuff that passes through with us. If there's something in our past life that we might have healed, and when we come back again, it's going to show face kind of again. And it's like, hey, what did I do in my past life to make this stuff happen? What I do? And all right, let's just start differently. You know, you need to get into that. Things will follow us forever, and they'll keep following us.
And it's very funny. This is a topic for another conversation, but I've had several past lives suddenly in the last 4 weeks just all come in at the same time. And it's like, oh, that explains a lot. Oh, that explains a lot. Oh, that explains you.
Yeah.
It's like, did we fix this? Because I don't want to do this again.
I just did a past life regression. Me and Brian went to one. Our girl was given one, and it was the first one I ever did. And I have trouble meditating because there's always so much going on in my mind. But I was able to get deep, and I seen a bunch of different things. It was crazy. They were so vivid. I'm I never saw anything like this. And I've been told this every time I go through session. I'm you're Egyptian, you're this, you're that, you're Pleiadian, you're all these crazy things. And I was able to see every single one of them in vivid detail. It was so crazy. It was nuts. But yeah, those things are pretty wild.
They are. When you're able to allow yourself to go deep, because you have to allow yourself to go there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And again, it's a different conversation for another time, but it is a very interesting journey.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then you see the players, the multiple players in multiple lifetimes.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah, it's been fun. Just keep going and keep moving. That's it. Keep moving forward. That's it. Keep pushing.
Keep questioning. So, on that note, what advice or wisdom do you want to impart when it comes to peace and as we start our day?
Wait, what was that? The first part broke up a little bit. What was that?
What wisdom or thoughts on peace would you like to impart on our day here?
I just wait for people listening and stuff. It's all within us. You don't need to outreach to anything else to find any peace anywhere else. It's all within you first. Once you get there and once you start addressing within you, every day makes it a little bit brighter. Even if it's a rainy day, I'm ready to go more. You get out of those moments that we're so accustomed to being in for so long. And those moments, we sit in moments of that stillness and that yuck. When we just wake up oh, another day. And it almost becomes so normal that when you get out of it, you feel weird. What am I doing here? I don't belong here. And so you do belong there. You do belong to have, you do deserve to have peace. So many people forget that from what they've been through and whatever else. You deserve peace. This is not the life that's in front of you. If it's not where you want to be, change it within self. Then you could start going out other places and trying to find different things that could help you along the way. You have to self-care. Self-care is huge. Every single day, do something to yourself. I don't care if it's 20 minutes a day. Do something where you lock yourself in a room, and if there's 10 screaming kids, you tell your husband, whoever's there, just watch them for a few. Every single day, find your 20 minutes. Because once you self-care, you start chasing your pleasure more. And that's what we're here to do. We're supposed to chase our pleasure in life, and that's why we're here.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, keep going. Don't stop.
Great. Thank you. And we're going to do a little housekeeping, so I'll be right back with you.
Okay, cool.
So thank you, everyone, working through some of the technical difficulties and being patient with us and learning about peace today, starting from the inside out, which is very true. I am also excited. I'm going to be having some really special guests on special evenings coming up really quick. So take and subscribe and get notified so you know when those guests are going to be on. I'm going to keep them hush hush right now until I have the dates for sure. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon.